Hello. First, I want to thank you for joining me, taking a couple minutes to kind of sit down and dive into this. My name is Kate. I am an occupational therapist with TMI, and I also serve as our documentation specialist. I wanted to come on today and very briefly talk about some of the proposed changes that are coming to MDS this fall and how those might impact your team. October 1st is rapidly approaching us when these new proposed changes will take effect. The MDS changes roll out every year, October 1st, and then run through that next calendar year to the end of September. Specifically today, I want to talk about the changes proposed in Section O, impacting therapy, and then a new section coming out related to social determinants of health that we're calling Section R. Section O is looking at getting a little bit of an overhaul when it comes to therapy and how therapy is tracked on the MDS. We're going to talk about it in a subsequent slide, but we're reducing therapy tracking, what we track for therapy and how it's tracked. I'm looking at saving about 6.6 minutes overall on the MDS. Section O is going to look significantly different. We're removing O0400. This is where we're tracking speech, occupational, and physical therapy for the type of therapy received, looking at individual, concurrent, group, co-treatment, how many days the service was received, and the start and end dates, as well as use of respiratory therapy, psychological therapy, and recreational therapy. The caveat here is the number of days that respiratory therapy was received will remain because that is used to calculate the HIPS PDPM score. Also, O0420, distinct calendar days of therapy received, and that 7-day look-back period is going to be removed as well. The reason for this, with the exception of that number of days receiving respiratory therapy, they don't need to use that to calculate the HIPS score. So essentially, they're not using it in tracking purposes. So they're saying, why do we need to have this information collected? On the right side of your screen, you'll see 00390. This is what is looking at replacing all of that I just talked about removing. Essentially, therapy is going to be reduced to a check mark on the MDS, saying that, yes, I am checking this. This service was received at least 15 minutes a day on one or more days within that 7-day look-back period. Also, a little bit of rest in peace for recreational therapy. They are not going to be targeted or tracked at all on the MDS. So how is TMI responding to this significant reduction in tracking on the MDS? Simply put, we're going to do the right thing, even when no one is looking. Our program managers are still going to ensure that each resident or patient gets the appropriate amount of minutes and days as set in the plan of care, while also respecting the expected number of minutes for each payer source and the specific need of that patient. Program managers will also be monitoring group and concurrent therapy to ensure that we're not exceeding that threshold set by CMS. And lastly, we're going to get to know Section R and how we can be partners in that. On the MDS, we're looking at having 11 total social determinants of health. 5 of those are going to be housed in Section R, where we're specifically going to be looking at the living situation, food access, utilities, and then a transportation question pulled from Section A, modified a little bit. CMS is aware that there are inequities in access to care. So this new Section R, the goal is to explore those and track those and really determine what are the inequities for the people that we serve. So what might be a therapy role in Section R? Therapists have this unique kind of role in that we spend a lot of time with our patients. We really get to know them as we're delivering that therapy service. This could turn into time to explore those inequities and those questions that we're asking in Section R. This information can then be brought back to the IDT and guide some more specific probing questions from some other disciplines. Identifying these inequities early on may be very impactful for discharge planning and reducing that risk of rehospitalization upon return to community. Again, I wanted to thank you for joining. My email is listed here on this slide if you have any questions or want to discuss anything further as we move forward to October 1st and then as we start this new season of MDS. I hope you all have a great day.